welcome back. We're continuing to talk about the sounds of the Korg DW-8000. We're going to continue at the extreme bottom left of our controller panel with the delay function here. And essentially what this is it's a digital delay unit that's pretty much put on the end of the sounds pathway for the Korg DW-8000. And you know, many of us have played with delay pedals and things of that nature. This is like that. It is digital, but it does have some interesting features here that I think you might find useful. So let's dig into it and talk about it. For ease of use here, because of how far to the bottom, I've just mapped the knobs of this unit here to the knobs of my Akai APC40. So you won't see my mouse going back and forth, but I'll just be spinning the knobs here. So kind of give you an idea what this patch sounds like. Just kind of a keys. There's some detuning going on, I think, or maybe not. Anyway, it's just two oscillators up against each other with some filter. But once we mix in the delay unit here, it sounds a little bit different. So just like any delay unit, what it's doing is it's taking bits of the audio and it's spitting it back out at us, sort of like an echo effect. And I'll just go down the line here and show you what each knob does. The first knob I was turning was the level knob, which, as you can hear, just affects kind of dry, wet, how much of the effect is on the patch. Starting on the far left here, you've got the time knob. This essentially is a coarse adjustment. There's only 7 values from 0 to 7, or I guess really 8 values then. And what it does is affect the overall length of time of the delay. So everywhere from 2 milliseconds doesn't really even sound like anything other than maybe can or something like that. Up more. More. All the way to the extreme. The longest delay time is about 512 milliseconds, so it's not going to be anything where you're going to be able to loop on yourself or anything like that. It is pretty, you know, about half of a second, but it is enough to get some pretty long kind of ping-pong delays. Now, in addition to time, you've got factor next to it, and if time is the coarse adjustment for how long the delay time is going to be, factor is the fine adjustment. So makes smaller amounts of changes for whatever segment time is set on. So if time is on, let's say 5, factor is on 15. If you turn it down, now it's a little bit shorter, a little shorter, a little shorter, even shorter. So makes slight adjustments to the time of the delay. But as you probably just heard, just like with the delay pedal, if you play guitar, if you mess around with the time setting, you're going to get odd, interesting pitch effects with that. So kind of fun to mess around with. There's other ways to mess around with it, which we'll get into in a second. Next up, we've got the feedback, and basically what this controls is the amount of repeats. You can sort of just, sometimes I think this is just called repeat knob. So you've got a few repeats all the way to a lot of repeats. So it's like how quickly does that delay die out. Alright, so far this is everything that pretty much is standard. Just if you were to run this through your typical guitar delay pedal, what would pretty much be done. But the engineers to the DW-8000 didn't stop there. You've got 2 more knobs, the frequency and intensity knob. And kind of what's going on. Do you remember in the last video how I said, wouldn't it be nice if there was a way to route the MG or low filter oscillator to the delay unit? Well, even though this low frequency oscillator did I say low frequency? Did I say low filter? Anyway, LFO, low frequency oscillator. Even though there's no way to route this particular LFO straight to the delay unit, it's okay because the delay unit actually has its own LFO. Its own LFO connected direct to the time and factor function. So remember how we just got done talking about when I move my factor knob? It makes interesting pitch effects. The frequency knob and intensity knob basically controls a low frequency oscillator that is affecting the factor knob. So if I turn each one up, it's like someone's going in there and actually turning the factor knob for you, but it's an LFO that's doing it. It can get pretty fast. So this isn't just for echo sounds. It can be used to make kind of chorusy sounds and kind of just wobbly, sort of spacey sounds too. Goes beyond what your typical delay unit could do. Let me bring up a patch that's more string sounding to get a different kind of take on this. So here's the patch with no delay. And I'm going to turn up some delay to see how this sounds. So you can hear all kinds of sounds are coming out of that delay unit. Some of them sound kind of almost sci-fi-ish. And you can get all kinds of weird stuff. I guess you could call limitation. One thing that I want to point out to you is if you are tweaking these in a live situation, they all are great to tweak except for the time knob. You may have heard it when I was messing around just now, but if you are messing around, you've got delays going, if you switch the time knob, it basically kills the delay because it basically resets to a new segment of milliseconds. Be aware of that. If you're tweaking live, stick to factor feedback, frequency, intensity, and level. And if you mess around with those, you're going to get strange, interesting, unique sounds. So that's the delay unit on the Korg DW-8000. Hope you found it useful. And moving on, we're going to talk about aftertouch and a few more things and wrap this up. Thanks again for watching, and stay tuned for the next video.